October baseball. We have made it to the postseason, and after a wild final weekend of regular season action, the field is officially set for the playoffs. And ESPO and I have you covered with our own playoff brackets. We're going to reveal them later tonight. That's in our big segment, along with some of the series MVPs. Also, ESPO breaks down his pick of the day and more tonight on the first postseason edition of Leading Off. And once again, we are live. This is the 25th episode of Leading Off, live from Studio 69 in New Jersey and REM Studio in Staten Island, New York, airing exclusively on Twitch and powered by StreamYard. And welcome back to the show on this Monday, October the 4th, 2021. I'm your host, Rich Rivera, and I'm being joined by the second best co-host of Leading Off, ESPO.
Second best. I don't know what you're talking about, Rich, but I was gonna say, as always, you always know how to introduce a man, but now you've caught me at a loss for words. I don't know what to say, but anyways, playoffs are finally here, man. Aren't you excited? You're definitely more excited than I am because your team's still in it, but that's neither here nor there.
Barely made it in on its final day of the season. Game 162 was crazy for the game of baseball, obviously. There were 4 teams in contention for 2 spots in the American League Wild Card. There was a National League West crown still up for grabs. It was a wild weekend, ESPO, and it is crazy when people, especially guys and gals who are not into baseball, are like, I hate baseball. It's too long of a season. Why do they need that many games? Well, guess what? Yesterday is the reason why they need that many games, because it could take a whole season to figure out what the bracket's going to look like, and certainly that's what happened. I kind of get reminders of the 2011 regular season end, which 10 years ago now, the crazy end when the Cardinals got in after the Braves had blew their big lead in the wild card, and the Yankees giving up a game to the Rays, and the Red Sox losing in the bottom of the 9th inning to the Orioles, and basically switching their spots last minute. It's insane, and that's what's great about the game, the unpredictability, the chaos. We love it. We were hoping for more chaos, though, in 2021. We were hoping for a double, maybe triple tiebreaker game for today, but obviously that didn't come into fruition. The Yankees clinching on a walk-off win against the Rays yesterday, and the Red Sox, after mounting I believe it was a 3-4 run comeback against the Nationals to crack a wild card spot as well. They're hosting the wild card game tomorrow on ESPN. Yankees, Red Sox. The rivalry gets even more intensified tomorrow night.
Man, I absolutely cannot wait, and I'm gonna love it even more because I am a neutral fan. And man, tomorrow night's not gonna be fun for you, dude. I can't imagine you enjoying the game. You're just gonna be stressed from start to finish.
And this would be number 4 for the Yankees in the wild card game. The first 3, however, the first 3 all at home. They lost to the Astros back, I believe it was a 2012.
I was there actually at
Twins
that game.
Beat the A's. You were there for that one?
Yeah, for the Astros game. My friend got kicked out because he was too drunk. That's another story.
So you better not travel down to Fenway tomorrow. I hope not.
No, travel down to Fenway.
Travel up to Fenway. You're right. Yes, travel up to Fenway. My bad. I'm already going nuts. But yes, the Yankees will be on the road for the first time in this wild card game, and that's gonna be nuts in Fenway. And I'm sure the Fenway faithful are gonna let the Yankees hear it, especially after the Yankees went into Boston last weekend and swept that series. So of course the Red Sox will be playing with the biggest chip on their shoulder. We'll talk about that and more later on tonight. But also, like our ticker reminds you to download the Twitch app. That's the way for you to be able to subscribe to our podcast, which is Leading Off _podcast, and get notified on when the streams go live. And of course, we've made note of it. We'll talk about it later tonight. We're going to continue our show until the very end of the postseason. So just stay tuned. But the easiest way to know when the shows are going live is to subscribe. Simple as that. Let's move on to Ducks on the Pond. And Ducks on the Pond is our news segment where we go around the baseball news and notes. And we always start with injuries, and we're going to keep it within the teams that are in the playoffs, obviously. And we'll start with the Yankees. The Yankees losing DJ LeMahieu ahead of the Sunday game against the Rays, LeMahieu is going to be out with a sports hernia. DJ's been dealing with some on and off ailments all season. Also haven't had the best batting line. Not sure if it's attributed to his internal issues, but LeMahieu so far hasn't lived up to year one of his contract.
No, he has not. And despite the lackluster stats, as you've alluded to, and the on and off injuries he's had all year, it's still a huge loss for the Yankees lineup in this game. And if they were to potentially advance against the Rays, I mean, just for the last few years, he's been one of, if not the most consistent player that they've had throughout all the injuries of the other players and consistency issues with other guys. So that's a really tough loss for them. So who's going to be starting in his place tomorrow?
Right. And that's going to be one of the questions that the Yankees are going to have to figure out over the weekend. They addressed it with Rougned Odor starting at third base. Obviously, if you've been following the Yankees, Gio Urshela has moved over to shortstop to give Gleyber Torres more of a mental break from playing the position, but moved him in his more comfortable second base. So now Odor has been taking over at third. So you now have guys that are out of their primary position in the infield to help out Gleyber at second. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. They could stick with Urshela playing third and have the kid Andrew Velasquez start at shortstop, or Tyler Wade, a left-handed bat. So they have a few options there, but it's definitely created a hole in that lineup, and more with the top of the order. And yes, DJ hasn't had the best season, but having that presence at the top of the order, you feel like he can try. You still kind of feel like, all right, maybe he could tap into those third place votes in the MVP voting last year and be that guy. But now that he's not there, and they gotta have to experiment with that leadoff spot at the wrong time of the year to do it, it's a worry for this team. So you hope for the best. Sports hernias are nothing to fuck with. And you hope for the best for DJ. Now, for the Dodgers, they've had a pair of injuries as well. Max Muncy day-to-day after a scary collision at first base. And he's out with a left wrist injury. They're saying that he is most likely going to miss the wild card game against the Cardinals on Wednesday, rather. And that's a different team. Clayton Kershaw, also out. Left forearm discomfort. And that's unfortunate for Kershaw, who's won his first World Series last year, a player who has had his troubles in the postseason, may have a chance to not even play in this postseason, but you got to love that Dodgers rotation anyway, I suppose. So you got to feel confident if you get past this wild card game.
Yeah, unfortunately for Kershaw, it's looking like his season's over. Just read up on some articles of what Dave Roberts said, and he thinks that his chances of returning are slim, which really unfortunate. Obviously, a very illustrious career he's had, but yeah, man, that Dodgers rotation is still stacked at the top. Obviously, they made the trade for Mad Max, who's looking like the Cy Young, and you got Walker Buehler, of course, who's still young and on the rise and can really solidify his legacy as a top ace in the game if he can dominate this October. But the X factor for this team, for that rotation, is going to be Julio Urias.
Ooh.
Last year, he served in that sort of swing role, middle of the game, kind of end of the game swing reliever. But now they're going to ask him to be in the rotation, and we'll see if he can handle that pressure. I think he can.
Urias, the lone 20-game winner in the National League, going 20-3 on the season, a 2.96, a career season for Urias. And he's definitely going to be a big part of that rotation. JD Martinez also day-to-day with an ankle injury, not disclosed yet if he's going to be making it for tomorrow night's game. We move on to the New York Metropolitans, as represented on the top of ESPO's head. We'll talk about your manager, who the Mets are most than likely going to decline his option. I don't know if it's official yet, but there's already been talk that it's a done deal, that Luis Rojas will not be returning to the Mets next season. But I feel like that was a done deal back in July, to be honest. Rojas is no longer going to be representing the New York Mets. How do you feel, bud?
It was a done deal the day they lost that game in Pittsburgh, at the game I was at. I mean, look, you never want to be happy when a guy loses his job. Rojas is a great human being. He's a class act. It just didn't work out for him in New York, and he got his shot, and it didn't work out. Time to move on. But as a Mets fan, I have to say I'm happy with the move, because he was not the right fit for this team. Obviously, the record would indicate that. Not that, the win-loss record ultimately falls on the manager 100%, but he's the leader of this team, and you got to take accountability. And it's time for the Mets to make a change. So we'll see who they hire as the GM. He's definitely going to have a major say in who the next manager is. But we were kind of discussing it before the show. Does it really matter if you have a manager with major league experience at this point? Because they're kind of just the figurehead for the front office now.
Yeah, and I mean that opens up a whole Pandora's box of conversation right there, and I think it's a known thing in baseball that a lot of teams are going, they're moving on from the old guard of baseball management, where it's not the hey, this is what I'm going to go with. I'm going with my heart, not my head, or my head or my heart, or just keeping the management on the field. A lot of the team management happens from the front office. It happens from guys that have never played the game of baseball. And it is,
if Jim Leyland heard that, he would just absolutely throw up.
It's a sad truth. Jack McKeon would be rolling in his grave, and I don't even think Jack McKeon's dead. So it's wild. It's absolutely wild. Espo's looking it up. So it's kind of nuts.
He's 90 years old, still going.
Oh, good for him. But anyway, yeah, it's a sad day for Luis Rojas. Probably a happier day for the Mets faithful that have just given up on this guy. And the Padres, speaking of management changes, the Padres will be moving on from Jace Tingler, although unconfirmed. That's the organization feels. Many beat writers who cover the Padres said that the team is looking to move on from Jace. But of course, the Padres themselves have not confirmed the move yet. So that's inevitable as well.
I mean, for as disappointing a season as the Mets had, how about the Padres? The expectations for the Mets were here, that the Padres sky high, and they just fell completely flat.
I mean, they didn't even finish with a 500 record, 79-83.
That's incredible. I mean,
fucking awful.
It seemed like the first month or two of the season they were, the team to beat in the National League, and then they just, I don't know, like the switch went off and they just shit the bed.
I'll make this known again on the show because he might be listening in, and he's been a great guest that we've had on the show. But yes, Mr. J.R. Pugs himself, Joe Puglisi, from the beginning of the year said the Dodgers were going to finish at least 10 to 15 games over the Padres in the National League West standings. We all looked at him.
Games.
We all looked at him like he was a cyclops, like he was nuts. Espo's gone. I don't know what happened to him, but I know I'm live. Hopefully he comes on real soon. But yes, it's crazy what has happened in the game, and Espo's coming back right now for the first time. Espo was the one
I accidentally X'd myself out of our broadcast when I was looking at the standings.
Well, welcome back. Dodgers finished with a 106-56 record. Padres with a 79-83 record. The Padres fucking finished 27 games below the Dodgers. Pug, I've known him for a long time. Puglisi was calling a 10 to 15 game drop. I mean, that's nuts. You have to fire the manager after that. The expectations were way too high.
We also have to ask Joe to give us some numbers for lottery tickets.
He's not that good. I've known him way too long. Last note here, and more of a note, we probably won't even stress on this because we're running out of time already. Shohei Ohtani open to an extension with the LA Angels. I guess this is an obvious run here. I mean, the Angels should have the money for it. They're always out towards the top when it comes to payroll on that team, although they do have a lot of dollars going to Trout and Rendon right now.
They're an absolute disgrace of a franchise, Rich.
Yeah, but I
don't even want to get into it, how much I hate what the Angels have done to the game of baseball.
Fair enough, but do you want to get into your Espo pick of the day while we still have you here?
Rich, to be honest, I really don't, because this seems like an automatic loss, so why don't I pick the Yankees to win tomorrow? Ha 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 ha. No, I won't do that. But I will pick Rafael Devers to hit a home run tomorrow night. We were talking about him before the show. Doesn't have incredible career numbers against Garrett Cole average-wise, but he does have 3 home runs against him, and who knows, maybe if Cole doesn't last, maybe he'll get to the Yankee bullpen. I like Rafi to hook one around the pesky pole.
Rafi with 38 ding-dongs this season, slugging at a .538 clip. I think it's a safe bet to see Devers go deep tomorrow. I can almost expect it. Devers is just a big-time performer. He definitely knows how to rise to the occasion. Is there a prop bet on that, or is that just you're just going with your gut here?
So I don't think it's available yet, just because the game's not till tomorrow, but
Fair enough.
it will be. So actually, I'm going to set a reminder to do that right now,
All right.
because
And while you
in
do
the
that,
past there have been times where I've been like, I'm gonna bet this guy, and then I forget to, and then I get an alert that he hits a home run, and I'm like, damn it, I didn't pick
yeah,
him.
because you don't place the bet on him. That's why. That's
Yep,
why he
but
hit the
I'm
home
doing
run.
it right now.
But while he does that, make sure to follow Espo at The Life of Espo, and make sure to follow our podcast at Off Podcast. And Espo will let you know how he does on his pick of the day. He always does, regardless if he wins or loses, and usually it's the latter. So good luck to Espo. And again, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Off Podcast, Espo at The Life of Espo, and you can follow me at Rich J. Rivera. We're flying through this quickly, Espo, but we made it to the 7:15 mark, now 7:16 mark, so I'm still a little late. But we're going to talk about the playoffs because obviously tomorrow night, 8:08 p.m., first pitch, Yankees Red Sox for the AL Wild Card Game is going to be a wild one indeed. But it's time for us to reveal our brackets. You know, we talked about it last week on the show. We were talking about our rewards and what the award predictions are. Now let's get into the playoffs. You know, we got the advantage that the Wild Card Game starts tomorrow. The last game of the season was yesterday. We have this little quick in between that we have the time to take and talk about the remaining games in the postseason, October baseball, and who's going to win this fucking thing. So let's start it off with the wild card games. So with the great graphics we have here, supplied by StreamYard, of course. We always thank StreamYard for the broadcast here as we go to Twitch. Let's get some of these brackets up. Well, that's my bracket, but this is the actual bracket here for the playoffs. This is what we're looking at. And I know it's a little blocked in the corner there, but that's what we're looking at. After everything that has happened and 162 games later, that's what we're looking at for the opening rounds of the playoffs. So we start with the wild card game. Espo, who are you picking for tomorrow night's game and the Wednesday game against the Dodgers and the Cardinals in the National League wild card game?
I'm riding with the New York Yankees tomorrow night in the hostile environment of Fenway Park. I know you want me to pick the Red Sox because you love your reverse psychology, but no, I do believe the Yankees are going to win tomorrow night. I think Garrett Cole is gonna live up to that. What was it, $326 million that he got from the Yankees?
A lot of dollars,
something like that, something obscene amount. But I think he's going to pitch the game of his life tomorrow night, and he's going to shut down the Red Sox bats. You have said that the Yankees bats very inconsistent, so we don't know if they're going to show up or not. But I like Cole to shut him down tomorrow night. But with my solo home run from Rafael Devers, of course.
I believe it was I believe the Yankees scored 6 runs over this past weekend against the Rays in must-win ball games. And of course, this is the biggest game of the season. I feel like Yankee fans have heard it for the last week. This is the biggest game of the season. This is the biggest game of the season.
No,
this is winner take all between your biggest rival, the biggest rivalry in sports. So yes, obviously I'm going to have more on the Yankees Red Sox game tonight at Savage the Bronx, 8 p.m. Eastern time, but I'm choosing the Red Sox. And call it, Rich is pulling his reverse psychology. He's just saying it so he can save himself here. No, the Red Sox are playing with the hugest chip on their shoulder after the Yankees went to their town last weekend and beat the piss out of them 3 games in a row. The Yankee bats have been dead. Cole has not pitched well. And I ask Yankee fans, who are you more worried about? Are you more worried about Cole not living up to his contract tomorrow, or you're more afraid of the offense falling asleep again as they've had over the last few days? Yankees won a game 1-0 yesterday. Took them 9 innings to score that 1 run that they got off an infield hit. I don't feel confident with this team. They're not a hot team going in. They're kind of backing into the playoff spots. I'm actually kind of amazed that they made it this far, to be honest. And the team that's been so streaky, I think they're finding the wrong time for the bats to fall asleep. Unless this team can come out early, and this is more of a key to the game, if this team can come out early and take advantage of having the first licks of the game and put up a big spot off Nathan Eovaldi, I just don't see the Yankees securing this win in Boston. And the Red Sox have been playing with their back against the wall, and they played great against bad teams over the last couple of series, but I just don't feel confident in this team right now. And call it reverse psychology if you want, but it's not the case for me. I'm choosing the Red Sox to move on to the next round. That was too much to talk about that, but we'll try to keep everything at a minimum going forward.
That was personal for you, Rich.
NL wild card game. We both have the Dodgers over the Cardinals, although I can I can assume that we both still would love to see the Cardinals beat the Dodgers in a 1-game playoff.
I would very much not like to see that as
Yeah,
a noted Cardinals hater and Mets fan, and as a noted better of the Dodgers running it back.
All righty. Well, let's move on. The division series then. So obviously our division series kind of end a little differently because we were moving on different teams here. For us, we both agreed on the Astros topping the White Sox, which obviously would be a heavyweight fight on either side. I think we both had like 3-1 or 3-2 on each side. We both have the Rays moving on as well, which is great. On the National League side, who do you have?
Yeah, so on the National League side, in the Brewers-Braves series, we are once again on the same page. We both have the Brewers taking that series. I think I actually have them sweeping it. Braves have had a great year, but man, that Brewers pitching staff, Burns, Woodruff, Peralta, it's going to be tough to do much against them. So I'm taking the Brewers in that series. And this one, Rich, is particularly interesting.
Yes.
Red Sox Yankees may be the best rivalry, but the Dodgers and Giants not far behind. That's going to be an absolute dogfight of a series. It is going to go 5. And hot take here, but I am taking the Giants to knock off the mighty Dodgers.
Yes, it is a hot take. Because I disagree. I think if it's a Dodgers-Giants series, I think the Dodgers are going to find the wherewithal that they've proven over the last couple of years of how good they've been in the postseason. I think the Dodgers will take advantage of more opportunities now that these games mean more than anything. And I think, again, back to my Red Sox playing with the biggest chip on the shoulder, I think the Dodgers are playing with a big chip on their shoulder. This is a team that from the drop of the season, best record in baseball, National League West Division by a mile, and they're just getting into the playoffs. And if the Cardinals have their way in one game, their season's done. I think the Dodgers are going to play with the biggest chip on their shoulder. I think those guys are going to come out slugging. You know, the trade acquisitions they made with Scherzer and Turner have paid huge dividends, and those guys know a thing or two about being in and winning a World Series as well. So I think the combination of having those two guys, along with the Dodgers players from last year that are still on this team and contributing in big ways, Dodgers are making a run at this whole thing. And I got the Dodgers on this side. Now we move over to the championship series games. And before I do that, because I know it's a little tough to follow at home, let's pull up some of that. Let's pull up our brackets, our full bracket playoff predictions here, because we're kind of all over the place. Because Espo and I, for once, are like not on the same page. So here we go. Espo's bracket. So Espo, you want to dive into this?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I mean, I took the Giants over the Dodgers, and honestly, to me, that kind of feels like the de facto World Series. If I'm being honest, they were the two best teams in baseball by a mile, in my opinion. So yes, they'll have more series to play after that, but I got a strong feeling that whoever wins that series is going to be the winner of the whole damn thing. So as you can see, I have the Giants knocking off the Brewers in the National League Championship Series. Going to be a great series of great pitchers, but I do have the Giants prevailing. And on the American League side, oh, man, the American League was definitely really tough for me. It's not as clear as it is in the NL, because that Astros White Sox series, it was really tough to predict. I do have it 3-1, but the White Sox are just such a hard team to get a read on. I mean, they have great pitchers at the top in Lynn and Rodon, but for the most part, they're largely untested. So I just don't know what to make of the White Sox. I like the experience of the Astros. I think they too have a massive chip on their shoulder, especially after what happened the last few years with the cheating scandals, and of course they lost a very close series to the Rays last year in the playoffs. So I think they're out for blood.
Yes, they are. And you are crowning the Giants, and if the Giants do pull this championship off, it'll be their 4th World Series title in 11 seasons, which would be nuts for them. Yeah, and I think you're right. I think when it comes down to it, between the Giants and the Dodgers, if the Dodgers were to make it past Wednesday night's game, of course, I think that's going to determine who's going to make it to the World Series on the National League side and possibly win it. You know, the Giants have that pedigree. I just mentioned 11 seasons, and they've already won the title 3 times. The Dodgers just won it, and it's it's crazy when we're looking at this bracket. And yeah, there are a few brackets, and I'll go into mine just in a bit. But just looking at the teams that are even in the playoffs, these are teams that are just no strangers to the playoffs. Even though the Giants are the surprise team that many people weren't expecting to be in, even with the Red Sox, I think people weren't expecting Boston to be in this spot. I think a lot of people had the Red Sox at the 4th to 5th place finish this year. But, there's a lot of still consistent teams that still find their way in. The Rays, the Stros, the Brewers. I think the Brewers' a 4th appearance for them. The Cardinals always find a way to sneak in. The Dodgers, who've been a consistent. The Braves, who've been a consistent. So these are teams that it's like, it's not hard. It's kind of hard to like look at a team that's had the most playoff pedigree over the last few years and not move them on. So yeah, maybe the White Sox are a better overall team when you look at their depth, pitching wise and their offense, but the Astros just know how to fucking win at the right time. And that's why I have them going as far as they're going here to the World Series for the rematch between the Dodgers and the Astros. What a great story that would be. I have the Dodgers, again, this is probably the last time I'll say it, playing with a huge chip on their shoulder against a team that knocked them out in 2017 and fucking cheated while doing so. I have the Dodgers with the World Series crown, making it back-to-back seasons for them and taking out the Dodgers 4-3 in a thriller of a series. And we have a lot of series that are going to go the maximum between our two predictions, between our two brackets. And again, here's ESPO's for those of you who just missed it. ESPO having the Giants over the Astros. And ESPO, who do you have as the World Series MVP in that?
Yes, I was just about to get into that. So the Giants, what I love about the Giants is they don't really have any one superstar that leads the way, although you could make the case for Chris Bryant. But they're just a team of scrappy guys that know how to win, and I think no one embodies that better than Brandon Crawford, their shortstop. Obviously an amazing defender, but the bat has finally developed late in his career, but he's become such a clutch hitter. And I think he's going to come up with some very clutch hits in that series to take down the Astros. So he's my pick.
I mean, it's been a wild ride for the Giants this season. And, we went from saying at the beginning of the year when the Giants were off to a great start, like, all right, how long is this going to last? Come on. The Giants aren't supposed to be this good. And they just know how to simplify the game. Yep. And you have guys that, again, have come off of big championship games and World Series victories, the Brandon Belts, the Brandon Crawfords, Buster Posey, who we said last week on the show should be the comeback player of the year for the National League.
Johnny Cueto even.
Johnny Cueto, yes. And then you have guys, again, more veteran guys who know a thing or two about the playoffs. Chris Bryant, Evan Longoria. You just mentioned Cueto, great name. There's a bunch of scrappy veteran guys. It's guys not even like
how to win, man.
It's like, man, that's a cornerstone player right there. And there's none of that. There's none of that in this team. This team is made up of veteran fucking guys, Even Mike Yastrzemski, who probably doesn't have the most major league experience, came up in the bigs at a very late age. So you have a lot of
who else is a damn scrappy ball player? Wilmer Flores.
You know who else is a scrappy ball player that nobody talks about? Lamonte Wade Jr.
Late night Lamonte. He's a legend.
A lot of people don't talk about, and I can tell you he's gonna have a big postseason. Their rotation's been solid. Gosman, Webb, Desclafani. So they've been solid all around. Their bullpen is tops in the National League. The Giants have a solid team. They have solid
tough, man. They are going to be tough.
They have a solid group of guys. I don't want to say it's a solid core of players because, again, they don't have cornerstone young guys that it's like that's where the franchise is going to be around. They have old school guys that just been playing the game for a long time. There are a bunch of guys you want to play Sunday softball with, have a beer with on Sunday morning before church, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a great time. And the Giants are having fun. But when you run into the Dodgers, who have been a monster in the postseason over the last few seasons, I just don't know if the Giants are going to pull it together against the monster of the Dodgers. Though they are hoping that the St. Louis Cardinals can pull this off on Wednesday.
I hope not. We need Giants Dodgers, man. Baseball needs it.
Yes. Listen, if it's up to baseball, they want Yankees Dodgers in the World Series, but that's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Just, again, not reverse psychology. Just
one thing is for sure, Rich. This is going to be one of the most exciting postseasons yet. I feel like we say that every year, but just the intrigue and the drama, it just gets more and more exciting every year, and the stakes just never seemed higher.
And I can predict for maybe like, I don't know, around episode 70 of this show, when we do this prediction show next year, we'll say like this is going to be the most exciting playoff bracket because it's
But it
just
will
like
be, Rich. You know why? Because the Mets will be back in it. That's why.
I hope so. Oh, for God's sake, give these guys a win, please. And of course, for my World Series MVP, I got Trey Turner. So I got another shortstop on my side as well. He's been swinging a very hot bat, and again, paying dividends for that trade that the Dodgers made with the Nationals by the deadline. So that's it. So our predictions are done. You have the Giants over the Stros. I have the Dodgers over the Stros. So it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a fun one. It all starts tomorrow night in Boston for the postseason. And of course, we're going to keep you all covered on the playoffs as we continue our show. And make sure, if you didn't like that coverage of the Yankees, fuck you, get out of my show. But you can also tune into my Yankee show later with Tom Waspel, a great co-host of mine. Savages in the Bronx later, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Follow us at Savages Bronx. We'll be previewing the Yankees wild card game against the Red Sox in full detail, including previewing what the roster might look like for tomorrow. So make sure to check that out, 8 p.m. Eastern time, right here on Twitch for Savages in the Bronx. We're going to finish our show, ESPO, with more of an announcement. And it's something that I've kind of touched on with Savages in the Bronx as well, in its regards to the future of the show. Obviously, the big question remains, hey, what do we do for the offseason? And it's a good question because obviously it wouldn't make sense for us to carry a baseball show every week when there's no baseball to talk about. There's only so much news we can kind of cover during the offseason, some transactions. And yeah, we could probably have a few good fun segments as well. But
I mean, hell, me and you could probably talk about baseball all day, every day, but I'm not sure anyone else wants to hear it.
We could turn this shit into a non-baseball show for the offseason and just talk about anything else. Call it Leading On. We lead you on, think it's a baseball show, and it's not a baseball show at all. We just talk about everything else.
We're gonna have gabagool. I don't know.
We can talk about gabagool. I'll talk about gabagool with Espo. I'll eat a gabagool. I'll eat some gabagool on the show.
Yes, we're not promoting the new Sopranos movie, but indirectly we are.
I've heard mixed reviews, by the way. So I
haven't seen it yet.
Me neither. Haven't seen it yet. I don't have HBO Max. I'm poor, so I'm gonna try to get my hands on.
You gotta pirate that shit, Rich. It's 2021, the modern era.
I know, all right. I'm disrespecting my Italian.
No, we don't promote piracy on this channel either. That is very illegal, and as our viewers all know, we hold the law in the highest regard.
Right, absolutely. We're a big fan of copyright. Anyway, so as I made mention to, I'm all thrown off now. But we're going to continue our show on a weekly basis until the very end of the postseason. So at the earliest, I believe that date, Espo, if I'm not mistaken, was November the 3rd. No, November the 1st. It was November the 1st would be the earliest that the World Series would conclude. The latest would be November 8th. So it's the Monday following the last game of the World Series would be our last weekly show. And then throughout the all season, Espo and I are going to announce some select shows that we're going to do. We'll do a show around the awards ceremony, the awards time. We'll review some of the awards or preview the awards, the MVPs, the Cy Young announcements, all that good stuff. We'll do a show around the winter meetings, which will be in mid-December before our holiday show. We also plan on doing an award show of sorts, which we're figuring out how to put
the name. That I'm forgetting the name. It was something like the Lofties, kind of in the spirit of the Dundies.
Right,
for you office fans out there.
We're creative writing on live on the show. Just don't mind us right now. And then January we're gonna do a Hall of Fame show. Obviously the Hall of Fame picks, Cooperstown, who's gonna make the class of 2022. We'll talk about that. I think February is actually a good time to do that award show because we'll be closing out the official first season of Leading Off, and that'll be around the Academy Awards and all those big award shows. So probably our award show will happen in February. So there we go. We just planned out a full off season.
Do we have to wear? Do we have to wear tuxedos, Rich?
I'm wearing a tuxedo. We're on fucking video, so I'm doing it.
You know what? Maybe we should. Kind of the whole Step Brothers dynamic.
I'm 1,000% going to wear a tuxedo. So there you have it, folks. We just announced everything for you. 4 select episodes for the off season.
I'm not committing to the tuxedo.
What?
I'm not committing to the tuxedo, Rich. Sorry.
Whatever, man. You do you. November, award show. December, winter meeting show. January, Hall of Fame. February would be our Lofties for the year that was 2021 and awarding all the great segments and guests and moments of the baseball season. And that's going to lead us right into March, where in March we'll start our weekly episodes once again. So that's the off-season plan. there you have it, folks. That's what's happening for leading off, but just stay tuned for those select dates. We'll announce it on Twitter and even on this show as we get closer to the end of the postseason. So that's it for tonight's show. ESPO, always a pleasure. Big game tomorrow for the New York Yankees. Good luck to them. And make sure to check my show out, Savages of the Bronx, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll talk more on the Yankees and the Wild Card game. But until next week, we'll see you here Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, as always. For leading off, on behalf of ESPO and I, take care.